Hey, what's up everyone? With the recent inclusion of the Masked Stranger within the most recent Sea of Thieves adventure, I figured it's a good time to go ahead and take a look at her backstory and kind of catch everyone up on who this character is, why she's important, and what her motivations might be in the future. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the Masked Stranger was first introduced to us by her original name, known as Wanda. Wanda was a weaponsmith stationed at Golden Sands Outpost. She believed that her business was the best in the Sea of Thieves, though she disliked selling to pirates. One day, a businessman named Salty had obtained a cursed cannon that belonged to the legendary Captain Flameheart. He established a partnership with Wanda, and they tried to replicate the many magical effects of the cursed cannon through alchemy and blacksmithing to create consumable cannonball versions. They tried to sell the cannonballs at the outpost, but the outpost governors refused to give them selling permits for their goods. Wanda became especially frustrated, believing the Order of Souls were behind the conspiracy. After being rejected by the different outposts, she created more dangerous versions of the cursed cannonballs, waiting until the outposts came back to their senses. After being rejected by all the outposts, she started creating more dangerous cursed cannonballs, hoping that one day the outposts would come back to their senses. One experiment, though, backfired horribly, inflicting Wanda and Salty with a terrible curse. Salty turned into a small, undead skeleton pirate, and Wanda was slowly turning into an undead skeleton, both slowly losing their memories of who they once were. Most of this part of the story happened back during the Cursed Sales campaign. You'd be able to see in Wanda's shop on Golden Sands the different cursed cannonballs in the back of her shop just kind of sitting there, unable to be sold because the outpost didn't want her to sell it, but she still wanted to show it off. But then later throughout the campaign, she fully transformed into a skeleton. It was then that she left the shop to her twin sister Wanda and began waging war on all the outposts as skeleton captain known as Captain Warsmith. She helped create the skeleton ships and helmed the Sandsman Revenge for its battle in Cursed Sales. Just a tip for those of you that are going to have kids one day, if you ever have twins, don't name them the same name with the one letter changed, because that just makes it very hard to tell stories about them for YouTube videos. So, Wanda, with an O, you probably remember her from some of the previous ventures we've already had. So she was the reason why Golden Sands was targeted by Flameheart, and that's why during the Forts of the Forgotten adventure, she was kidnapped and they were trying to get information from her. Alright, so getting back to our story. After Cursed Sales, Wanda kind of disappeared and wasn't really around anymore for a bit. We'll have to jump forward in time to the Smuggler's Fortune update, where we see the Masked Stranger appear with Stitcher Jim on an uncharted island that we now know today as Reaper's Hideout. She was working on deciphering the contents of the Reaper's chest and creating sketches of a chalice, a dragon figurehead, and of Shipwreck Bay. Later during the Fort of the Dam update, she and Jim moved to Castaway Isle to keep a close eye on Old Boot Fort, which later transformed into the Fort of the Dam. This is where the ghostly form of Greymarrow was released with a shadowy ritual. With the Seabound Soul, their planned ritual at Shipwreck Bay was complete, releasing the ghost of Sir Arthur Pendragon from his curse. This set Pendragon on a mission to enlist pirates with the task to release the souls of other cursed captains. This led to the accidental releasing of Captain Flameheart, whose soul had been also cursed. During all of this, Stitcher Jim was at taverns, filling in for Duke as the Bilge-Rats representative, while the Masked Stranger worked away behind a locked door within Wanda's hideout on Wanderer's Refuge. Jumping forward in time for a second, we saw Wanda's hideout again during the most recent adventure that we just did yesterday. This is where she had done all of her experiments with the cursed cannonballs and stuff in the past, and it's very interesting right now to be able to go in and check out what's going on in there. Going back to our main story, we now had the Festival of Giving update in 2019, and this is when the Masked Stranger finally named the uncharted island to Reaper's Hideout. There she took residence on the southeastern island, dressing it up for the festive season, and began collecting gifts from passing pirates. Over time, we'd see the construction of Reaper's Hideout into more of a fort, and the Masked Stranger started accepting various types of treasure and offering double their value compared to the trading companies on the outpost. In our next update with the Heart of Fire Tall Tale, Stitcher Jim's carvings in the walls of his hideout at Lara's Backbone indicate that the Masked Stranger is Captain Warsmith. Additionally, the Masked Stranger can be seen overlooking the Stitcher's ritual during the Tall Tale. Finally, after the Heart of Fire Tall Tale with the release of Flameheart into the Sea of Thieves world again, the construction of Reaper's hideout was complete, but the Masked Stranger was disappeared, and in her place the Servant of Flame, which we now know is the adopted son of Captain Flameheart, took over in her place. We didn't see much of Wanda after the Ships of Fortune update, and it wouldn't be for another year when the Pirate's Life update came out and we got the Dark Brother and Tall Tale that we see her again. In this Tall Tale, we find out that she had joined the Dark Brethren because she learned that Flameheart was just using her and she wished to take revenge on him. In the trailer for Forts of the Forgotten, you can see her on the ship with another figure dressed in a similar outfit, looking at the sea fort in which her sister Wanda is being held captive in. We're not too sure if she was going there to help Wanda, that's what I would assume, but the Masked Stranger was probably there just to, screw over Flameheart, whether it meant saving her sister or not. So now our story brings us to the present day, where we see the Masked Stranger and Duke, who we'll talk about in a future video, have orchestrated this plan to kill Merrick and basically kidnap him at Sailor's Grave, which Sailor's Grave is the island that we were first at in the first Pirates of the Caribbean Tall Tale. This is where we go and we have to sneak aboard the ferryman's ship in order to rescue Jack Sparrow. This is where basically when pirates die in the Sea of Thieves world, they spawn there, and then they can go to the dock and they can get picked up by the ferryman, and the ferryman will take them back to life in the Sea of Thieves world. But obviously he can't do that if he's kidnapped there. So we see Duke alive there and the Masked Stranger as an undead skeleton. They grab Merrick and they're holding him captive, trying to get information from him. Now the interesting part about this is both the Masked Stranger and Duke are part of the Dark Brethren, which is a separate group from Flameheart. Flameheart is the one that we were fighting in the previous adventures, with the Lost Sands adventure, with the Reapers versus the Residents of Golden Sands and all that. That was all Flameheart. That had nothing to do with the Dark Brethren. So now it's kind of interesting to see what the Dark Brethren wants to do. How are they getting involved? I'm very curious to see what happens with this story next, and I'm really curious to see what happens with the Masked Stranger and the rest of the Dark Brethren in the future. But that's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed, it'd be great if you have to like and subscribe. Definitely check out this other video. I think you'll probably like it. But until next time, thanks for watching and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.
Well. It would seem that our friend has delivered, just as we planned.